I don't have addition to your slide apparently. Okay. Ready? I think so.
All right. Call them into order again. Welcome to the Budget Finance Committee meeting for September 13th, 2023. I have no announcements. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion to approve. I have a motion by David. Do I have a second? Second by Cecile. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Moving up to item 4, budget follow-up discussion.
Great, yeah, so I'll tee this up. You guys have printouts today. You're absolutely welcome. So it's the same exact information we walked through on Monday. On the departments you've already talked about, we added back in that personnel line, and we totaled them all up. But the information on the right-hand side has not changed. Pictures have not changed. So I thought, if you're okay with it, we brought in for additional request, Rissa and Jake to talk through Parks and Rec. So if you tee those guys up first, then I can get them out of here. I can talk through admin. We've got some additional slides in the back as well. So if that's okay with you, John, we'll
Absolutely. Yeah.
and
We'll figure it out very good.
we'll skip through these. And it's all on page, it's a 6th slide, maybe park departments. There you go. That's the one.
That's all. Sorry. There you go.
Okay. Yeah. You guys all got that one?
Yep.
Okay.
So if you will, let me just kind of recap a little bit on Parks. I know a lot of you are aware of some of the things that we do, but I'm even astonished sometimes when I go back and I write down all of the things that the Parks Department does. So just kind of by the numbers, and it won't be a long time, I promise. Parks put on 12 concerts this year. We had 9 free community concerts. We had 4 ticketed concerts. This year is the first time that we have generated any revenue from those concerts above our costs. So in past years, we were paying for the band, and the money that we brought in was less than what we were paying the band in expenses. So that was a pretty cool thing this year. Put on 20 large-scale events from Glow, Monsoon, Blues Fest, Fall Festival, Nickel Plate, Night Lights, Boo Bash, 20 large-scale events. As you know, Spark Fishers falls into that. A couple years ago, we went from 1 day of events with Spark Fishers to 5 days throughout the week. We did 30 pop-ups and programs in the community. We hosted and helped with 35 community partner programs and events. So these are events that are put on by like a nonprofit, community groups, school groups, and we supported either with resources or staff or both. With 35 farmers market dates, Saturdays and Wednesdays weekly throughout the summer with live music and entertainment. I know a lot of you have been to a lot of these kids activities, group fitness and mindfulness classes each week. Maker Playground is our makerspace, and we currently have 106 members, monthly members at our makerspace. Put on 96 classes this year. We, in addition to that, have partnerships with the VA, with the Whole Health Mental Health Initiative, Ivy Tech for trades and job training, Central Indiana Woodworkers Association, and of course our HSC partner program. Summer camp, we saw almost 3,000 campers in the summer at 6 different camp locations. And then our HSC partnerships with 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 5th grade now. We saw 6,400 students come through and touch parks in some way. So that was pretty exciting. I wanted to spend a little bit more time on AgriPark since that's one of the asks on here. The AgriPark opened in 2020. It's a 33-acre urban farm. in 2023, we produced over 190,000 pounds of produce that was given out free to the community. That is 100,000 pounds more than we did just last year. We had about 50,000, and these are low numbers. We probably had more. As far as attendance, we had about 50,000 people visit the park. It's 15,000 more than last year. We've doubled the amount of seats started on site, so 56,000 last year to 112,000 this year. We doubled the amount of programs that we have up to 25. We have 25 animals on site. And then, of course, we have our HSC partnership with Teacher in Residence, Brooke Daniel, out there and we saw 1,525 students come through there. So that's just some of the stuff that we did. Super proud of my team and what we've accomplished in this year. As we continue to grow and we see more attendance at all of our events, some of these things are key. With the numbers that I just shared with AgriPark, one of the items under personnel is the conversion of a part-time to full-time employee at the AgriPark. It's not a 9-to-5 job, as you can imagine, that animals need to be fed and things need to be watered and baby calves need to be delivered at any given time, and that doesn't fall in work hours. And we have one full-time employee out there that has done a phenomenal job over the last 3 years, but he needs significant help. So under personnel priorities, that is one of our top priorities at the AgriPark. With the community center breaking ground next month, we're asking that there would be 2 community center employees to bring on half a year. So at the middle of the year next year, we would bring on an operations manager and then a community center membership coordinator position. And then a salary increase with personnel and equipment to support new hires. So areas of focus, we continue to want to build on this culture of health and wellness. I think the community center kind of speaks to that. Mental health is a really, it's always top of mind in everything that we plan with parks. Accessibility and equity are huge components. We've had some really big success stories in the Parks Department with sensory inclusion and those with physical and intellectual disabilities. Community and connection is also kind of just those are our core values in the Parks Department. We have high quality events and partnerships and we bring people together. AgriPark additions, we are so excited that we will be starting construction to bring AgriPark restrooms. Next month, we will start to bring water and sewer into the park and then the building will be built. Some additional playground enhancements. All the playground that's there, it's one of our most popular playgrounds. It's something that Trevor just put together himself. There was no official playground companies involved in that. He put it together and it needs some love and some help. And then we just got a Duke Energy grant in partnership with HSC schools to have an aquaponic system added. So we should get that delivered next month as well. So all of these things will increase attendance and we will need additional staff to help manage those things. And we would like to add some additional summer camp programming and experiences as well. Happy to answer any questions.
Great. Well, this time we'll start at this end.
Okay.
Our way down. Last time we started this end. So, Sylvia, any questions?
Sure. Thank you for everything you do. I mean, I am always so impressed with your programming, your energy, everything that comes together for all these events. We love it. We love attending the events. AgriPark additions, the restrooms. I know there have been conversations about adding a adult changing table. I wanted to see if that was something that was going to be added in these restrooms and if it was included in the budget. So
Yes.
I want to double check on that.
Yes. It is. It is.
Okay.
We're still working to design the first step is really, and probably the most expensive step is bringing water and sewer. So that's what we'll be starting next month. And with the construction of the building, yes, we will be adding that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing, I didn't know whether this is anything that's feasible or part of equipment that could be ordered for next year, but for the Geist Water Park, it may be a water wheelchair that could be checked out. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's even something that's feasible in that kind of water situation. I don't know,
Sure.
but it got brought up on social media. I don't know. I
Yeah.
happened to be on social media and saw kind of like that feedback from
Sure.
from the disability community about, they love the mats, they love the accessibility of the picnic area.
Yeah.
Adult changing table, and so I didn't know with equipment,
Mhm.
if that would, if you would be able to incorporate
'Cause, yeah,
that into, I don't know, again, I'm not sure on how that works with the sand and the water in a lake situation with that, but if you could check on that.
sure.
And then, additional summer camp programming experiences, I didn't know if also, again, there's a possibility to provide, inclusive and adaptive camp experiences, maybe for people with special needs, for young. We lack a lot of, opportunities for individuals with autism and intellectual disability, especially for the younger kids, you know?
Sure.
So I didn't know if any of these summer camps or moving forward, we could look at, adaptive camps that maybe would be kind of targeted to that group.
Yeah.
So just put that.
I think on that front, there's opportunity to maybe partner with some professionals. I don't know that our team would be trained or skilled in all areas.
Right.
I do know training, especially, we had a lot of a considerable amount of behavioral issues last year. So training is going to be number one going into next year. How we handle these things in an inclusive way that's not disruptive to other kids. But I think that's a really good opportunity to partner with some professionals and see kind of our partnership program.
So let me know what we
Sure.
have a lot of community stakeholder partners
Yeah.
that would maybe provide, it would just be nice to at least have one opportunity
Yeah.
for throughout the summer that's adaptive and inclusive. And so
Sure.
I think that was all that I had in terms of questions. But thank you.
Thank you. My question is a little bit off the wall here. Do we have teams using our facilities and travel teams still using our facilities?
The only one we have currently is the one that I brought to council last month, and it's CCA.
Okay.
It's one league at.
So Cumberland
at
Park
home.
is, I mean, Dave and I both live by Cumberland
Yeah.
Park, and it's a soccer, everyone's playing soccer on the weekends. Those are all Fishers teams.
They should
Those are
all be.
non-travel teams.
They should be, and if they're not, please let us know. Because we recently, when I was doing a little bit of digging actually for CCA, a couple teams I was made aware of that are not, that they weren't going through us at all. They were just using the
Just
property.
on the field.
So yeah, so please shoot it my way if
Okay.
you see any of that, and then we'll confirm.
So at one point they were, Fisher Soccer Club was using those fields
Yes.
to travel.
Yeah.
Part of sports, kind of not part of sports.
Right,
I
yeah.
was on that side back and then, so
Yeah.
my obviously my shift is, I've got to shift up one. I think
Yeah.
it's right, I mean, it's a public entity, I
Yeah.
think it should be use for travel teams unless travel teams paying for it. some
Right.
shape or form. I have no
Absolutely.
problem with that.
Yeah.
And folks don't come to the park, looks like restrooms got built there, and
Yep.
it's like two-story restrooms literally.
Yeah,
Obviously for the water,
Yeah,
probably
yep.
things like that.
Yep.
Is that online now? Are they working? Are they?
it's a
functional yet?
fantastic question that I don't know the answer to.
Yeah, so
But I'll
that,
find out.
Elliot might be able to speak to this. That's actually not one of our projects. It's a utility company. We were able to work with them. They needed I believe it's a lift station.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Utility product. Water.
It does look like a restaurant.
It looks like a restaurant to me,
Yeah,
but I guess the water. Well, if I need to go, I need to go someplace else.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Lastly, certainly, thank you guys for what you do for the city every year. You provide a tremendous array of services all hours of the day, bringing a lot of great things to our citizens, whether it's our children or our adults. And, just thank you for everything you're doing for us, and we really appreciate everything.
Thank you.
David?
No questions.
Jocelyn?
Yes, doing good.
I just have a couple about Guys Waterfront Park. So, one, which I shot you a note the other day, just, we said that we would take a look at trucking fees and how that went the first go around so that we can do an assessment. So I shared that with you, and Jake, I should have had you on that request, I forgot. And then the other thing I wanted to ask is about the water quality there. And if further investments need to be made for the water quality there. And I don't know if that, I'm assuming that if we did that, that would fit underneath your budget, but I was just wondering kind of thoughts and future thinking on that.
Sure. We're still gathering information and metrics on as far as who accessed the park. So in the next 30 days, we plan to kind of reconvene as a group, and those numbers will help inform us how we would like to proceed for next year. So I'd say in the next 30 days, be able to answer your question on that.
Great.
And we remain committed, just to chime in, we
Yeah.
remain committed to that, we put that policy in place. It's probably less budgetary, more policy related, but again, we got through the Memorial Day to Labor Day window, right? So now it's to take a deep breath, let's analyze, assess capacity, number of paid versus number of residents.
Yeah.
We'll come back to the committee, or the entire council rather.
Yeah.
With a recommendation on, which way to go.
Great,
So
thank
we're
you.
taking it to that.
Well, and I just wanted, since it's still like top of mind for everyone, to be sure that was on the radar screen. So I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
it is.
So when the time is right on that.
As far as water quality, I think it could potentially maybe fall into our budget. It could potentially fall into our public works budget. We do have 6 industrial aerators out there. There's some natural springs that are there. And algae is part of a lake environment too. So people do freak out when they see it. Not all of it is bad. So I think we'll continue to look at that for sure and see what we're able to do, and potentially it would be a split between departments and budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
But at this time, you're saying, hey, there's no recommendations to invest more, either equipment or, this is on my league a little bit, but
I think that'll be part of our assessment, like, and,
Okay.
we really just came off the heels of, or like, we're in like the
Just,
busiest
yeah.
season and we just closed, so
Right.
we definitely will be looking at all aspects of that and figuring out what, recommendations we have for next year. Yeah.
Okay, so, but as of right now, there's no like investment recommended in
proposed,
this proposal.
Correct. Yeah.
What's the, in details, public works in a weekly meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's professional services,
Yep.
contractual work.
Yep.
We
Yeah.
actually,
Summer.
Yeah.
You guys
so
talked about it a little bit
2 times a week, we have our in-house DPW crew. They actually do a physical process, taking algae out of like the sand and the low water areas. And then we have a treatment that we pay for once a week as well to get rid of the algae. The E. coli, you might be referencing that a little bit too. We're continuing to do research and continue to learn, from what we understand. It's a pretty natural, open body water kind of situation, especially after a really hot spell and then rain.
Yeah.
Sure.
And we've actually been really encouraged, and I think the city can play a really good role for the community. We post all of our water quality. We do water quality tests weekly by a third party. We post those, it's transparent. We alert everyone if there's any kind of issue. That really isn't done anywhere else in Geist. So people now know, oh, hey, otherwise they would have to kind of do their own or kind of ask the health department to do it. But since that has happened, we've actually had the health department go out and do different tests in other parts of the reservoir. And our cove actually recovered much quicker and got back
Yes.
into the good levels far faster.
Yeah.
Consultants that we've been working with really feel like the
Yeah.
aerators, the 3 natural springs underneath, and all the things that we're doing are helpful for that.
Yeah.
Well, and I was going to say this first go around, from my perception, it seemed like that was proof, like it's working as it should,
Yeah.
right? And the alert
Yeah.
system and testing. So,
Right. Yeah.
So that is all good. I just wanted to be sure that you have the resources that you need in that
Appreciate that.
area.
Appreciate that.
And then lastly, I'll just say thank you. Like, your department is probably the most front facing in terms of interactions with our citizens, young and old, and everyone in between. And what you do, that was the second time I've heard all those
I know.
numbers, and I still am blown away. So let's share that with the community too. That's really fantastic work. So thank you.
Thank you.
both.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Thank you guys for coming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
thanks for having
Thanks for having us. Sure. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Have a great evening.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Guys. So we want to skip, I think, 2 ahead. I don't plan to talk to it, which is a request. Sorry, back one, Tracy. There's 2 out, okay, right here. So this is a second health department slide. Monica talks to all of this, but it was a lot. So this is just a specific look at that Health First Indiana section of it, right? So again, Monica's on the left-hand side. She talked to Nicole Service and regulatory piece of it. She talks to everything on the right-hand side, but I think there's a request to just see it on paper. So that's
Yeah,
the
thank
update.
you.
So any questions, feel free to ask Monica, but she did speak to this already. Okay, next slide. We will swing to administration, and then I will pass it off to Lisa after that. So, similar to what you've seen on Monday, 23 approved, 24 approved, and I'll talk to the highlights here. So, just as a reminder, the administration is at the mayor's office, if you will. It's also the Business Solutions Group, which is our software and technology group, as well as our customer service and employee engagement divisions as well. So it covers down a handful of groups. The big change in personnel is the 5% salary increase across the board. That includes some health benefits as well, which is captured in our fiscal plan, as well as Jordan Alexander, who was rehired with the city several months ago. She was originally in the economic development group, so this is moving that over to the administration budget as well. So that covers down on the personnel changes from 23 to 24. $20,000 in supplies, a little bit of that is inflation, and then some plans from our customer service and employee engagement team just around retention. So we do 2 events a year for our employees, one around the holiday timeframe at Unspoke, and one around Public Service Recognition Week in the April-May timeframe. So that's the increase in supplies there. Professional services, about $1 million increase, and there's really 3 specific groups that take up that $1 million chunk. You recall in last year's budget, the nonprofit grant of $250,000 we've done for the past several years was ARPA money. We pulled it out of our budget. This is going back into the general fund as expected. So that's $250,000 out of that $1 million is for the nonprofit piece of that. Software, we're just getting crushed. So inflation is a big deal. We saw software increases in the 15, 20, 30% range year to year. Cost of doing business, that's really about 500,000 of that. So that's 700,000. The insurance is also on the rise. And so we do some unique things here. We have a park now that mines water. That's a heavy insurance expense in the variety of things. And to our good friend Tracy, cyber security insurance is not cheap either, so that continues to go up. So I really covered down on the professional services, the $1 million increase there. And then obviously the massive one there in the capital. The mayor pitched that idea to council last month. That's that $12 million investment into the community. Areas of focus, it's executing every single day. This is the best place in the world to work, live, and play. So that investing in our community plan is really the big strategic initiative, several initiatives rather, for 2024. We've got several things underway. The gigantic building over here, we hope to have that closed up in May. And cut that ribbon. Our event center, if you guys have driven by that, steel's out of the ground. That's still intended to open in December of 2024. So that's a big lift for us, which is pretty exciting. And then breaking ground on the community center, which the rest of the Jake and really all of us are very excited about. So those are some big projects. They're kind of already on the way, but it's really all about, I think the mayor said it today, it's about execution in 24. So we got a lot on the plate. It's about execution. Then the last piece is operational excellence. So it's doing what I call being brilliant at the basics, right? So having a clean audit from Lisa's team, is having Tracy make sure every single piece of technology works every single day. So it's just really investing back into our staff and making sure that we operate as efficiently and as effectively as possible for our communities. So those are kind of broad brushstrokes of the administration departments for 2024. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on this.
Cecilia, any questions? Okay. One question, Tracy. How much is your technology actually cloud-based at?
Oh, I don't have exactly, but I would, an uneducated guess without going into the weeds, I would guess probably 65, 70% is, and when you factor in more and more of what we would consider private infrastructure and services is no longer housed on city-owned physical equipment. So even that piece that I might argue is private infrastructure and private application is sitting in an external cloud-based solution, whether it be infrastructure or software as a service. Then you factor in things like, resources that we use for public safety from the county or EMS from the state. So much of the business the city does is not housed and run on private city-owned equipment and infrastructure. And that model continues to change. And a big reason you're seeing, if I can inject the industry in general, and David and I talked about this up here in the last meeting, the industry, and I don't love it, but it is what it is. They are moving away from the old days where you used to be able to buy a license and you could keep that license, and maybe you didn't want to upgrade that piece of software for 3 or 4 years, and then you could do it when there was a feature that you cared about. Now everybody is moving to that subscription model. So people that work with Adobe used to have an Adobe license, and that was great. You used it for 10 years. Now they want that money every year. It's a cash flow thing, right? So you're just seeing that across the board, which is why we moved a lot away from CapEx more to OpEx to run technology, right? So, sure.
Okay, thank you. That was the only question. David?
No, I don't have.
Okay, thank you. Jocelyn?
A couple questions, actually starting from the bottom. So the 12 million is the cash reserves that's then going to be applied to the administration bucket.
Yes.
Okay,
That should just comes out of general fund, right? So that's administration without general fund, so that's where we're gonna house it, yes.
okay.
It'll be,
It'll get
Just for
divvied
the
up
public
as
works.
needed, but it's easier to
Okay,
put,
home.
it's
Okay.
easier to put it there until everyone is allocated their applicable share of things. So.
Okay, that sounds good. My first question, thank you for this document again, would love it. This will be, placed on the budget webpage.
budget web page, and we'll also link it to the, agenda as well.
Fantastic. So, one of the details that we've always had specified in a document like this every year is the actual dollar amount dedicated to the nonprofit grants. And I'm assuming that is the same at 250,000. Can that be added to that just specifically?
Yep.
This is a really nice, clean, good, for the public kind of document, and it'd be nice to have that.
We'll put it just in that folder. That's okay.
Yep. Yes, absolutely, that would be great. And just to clarify, it was the year before last that money was ARPA funds. In 2023 budget, current budget, it's in like our lit budget. Right.
I gotta double check that. I thought it was ARPA still, but I can double check that. It's not. I'll have to
We'll
double check
double
that.
check that.
Yeah, double check that.
I'm not sure if that really matters, but as long as it's specified for this year like that.
It is, the nonprofits are in the budget for this year. I think that's probably the key
Exactly.
takeaway.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you. And then just one note about the very top bullet, customer service / employee engagement. Well, customer service, let me pause there. I think as Cecilia mentioned last time we met on Monday, we field questions from citizens, and I think all of us try the best we can to kind of share with them like their best pathway depending on their question or concern. And when Cecilia brought that up last time, it was about roads, and I think neighbors petitioning for their neighborhood roads to be at the top. As we look at customer service, I think it is very unclear to citizens, and frankly, even to me, where those pathways are for citizens when they have concerns. So I'm just sharing that with you. If we're investing in that to make a good customer experience for the people we serve, I just want to be sure the communication aspect is part of that conversation.
That's great. And we certainly don't, and we've got it all figured out. Mullen Conley and the team do a fantastic job. And there's, we get an email, phone call, in person, and they collect data on every single group. They have top 5 or the big hitters this week, whether it be sewer bill complaint or whatever it is, right? But there's always opportunity to do better. So I'll share that with them. And maybe there's an opportunity for them to send out like a weekly, hey, here's our top 5. Are you guys hearing something on this? If you're interested in that information, or we can continue to do better in that regard.
I think that'd be great. I think right now, like, we know it's getting done. I hear great things about Molly. It just seems like a little awkward or some miscommunication. So That's the only note I have there.
Okay, great. I lied, before you, Lisa, just one more, go down, sorry, down to it. And this is really very good, perfect, so this is directly off of the fiscal plan. I
Yeah,
have
thank
requested
you.
to see it on there,
Yep.
so that's the trend, on property tax, revenue for us, and that's what we're anticipating for 2020. And now, I promise I'll shut it.
You can scroll down, Tracy. Yep, you can go to the next one. So this is similar, go back up one.
Sorry,
No, you're fine.
lag for the screen, that's me.
Fine. So, this is total debt. So as we talk about, there's a variety of debt. So as a caveat, this is, probably this is an overstated debt amount because this is pulled from the OS for the event center. And so as a note of that, it has the anticipated financing for the event center, which is $170 million, but it still includes as outstanding the ban also of 90 million. And that's because obviously at the time of issuance, the ban is still outstanding. So you've got 90 million of this that truly doesn't exist because that ban goes away when that permanent financing is coming in. So just wanted to point that out. So as we talk about, we've got what we consider the direct debt, and that's really all the property tax and lit back debt. Then the conduit debt we've talked about numerous times. Conduit debt is really developer purchase debt. It's disclosed on our financial statements. The obligations lie with the purchaser, which is the developer themselves. Capital leases, that's the wind down of our fleet loans, and some other kind of wastewater leases. And then we have the utility debt. As a reminder, that's considered revenue debt, which in essence, the revenue generated from the utility itself pays that debt service. So that's kind of just the overall, and this is as of May 18th, just because that's kind of the date we did for the OS. So kind of a look at overall in totality. Scroll down, Tracy. The next one. And so then the next slide kind of just breaks down that direct debt. So as a reminder, the property tax back debt, debt that is, its security is those property taxes. Again, there's a difference as we talk about between what your security, what's your pledged security versus your actual repayment source. So with those, and so we've got the tip only back deal, which is one of the downtown developments. And so then we've got some kind of unique deals that are really more out of the yard and kind of the stations where they're tip, but then that tip is backed up with a minimum taxpayer agreement and the amount of the debt service. So this shows you what their true pledged legal backing is. And then Tracy can flip to the next one, which shows you what they're actually repaid with. So kind of just as a background, obviously, security source is what the true, if for some reason your other repayment source fails, that's what you're truly obligated to pay with it, but you can pay any type of source. So obviously you have your property tax. The other that's up there is actually what the arena will be, and I bucketed it as other because as we talked about in great detail here, that's a wide variety of revenue sources going to pay that debt service. Then the rest is TIF. You've got a small amount of outstanding debt that's paid by road impact fees. And then because of that, arena event center ban will get redeemed when we actually sell the event center. I kind of just excluded it because it's really not applicable and goes away with the permanent financing. So that's kind of just a look at what the actual true payment source is, which as you can see, the pie chart is a little different than what the actual pledged source is. So that's kind of the background of those. And then the next one is kind of just walk people through kind of a debt per capita kind of. So these numbers are just pulled from Gateway or some other cities to kind of look at. And then the next slide just kind of goes into a per capita breakdown if you're so inclined to look at that. Still relatively low overall. And then actually, Tracy, if you flip to the next slide, what's really interesting is that Plainfield has a really high debt per capita, obviously about 30,000 people in Plainfield, but their debt per capita is pretty high per person, which is kind of an interesting one to look at. So that's why I threw that in there, but that's kind of just breaks down. So the first slide and the second slide have predominantly most of the same cities, but they have a few different ones, which is Plainfield, just because it's one of the very interesting ones with the higher per capita. A little bit on the debt side.
Can I ask a question about that? Thank you for adding this information for us. This is important. Two things. I was also looking for, I guess, a version of this, or maybe I just use this. So I know this is total debt, and I really appreciate knowing this, but this is like the breakdown of debt by year.
Yeah, and that's in the back, that's in the back of the fiscal plan. It does the debt by year. It's like the back.
Be this one right here.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's the back total.
Right.
And that, yeah, and that's kind of the back page of the debt by year of the property tax.
Some of them end with 2044, but some go further than that.
Yeah, we just,
You-
not that, well, we gotta keep the print spaces on the page, so
Yeah.
that's why we hit the 2044.
Okay.
Well, and why I'm asking for like in graph form, one, it makes it easier to read, but two, like our fiscal plan is not accessible to the public. And I just want to be sure like this information, like that's why we have that budget page on the website, is to be sure that citizens have access to this information, hopefully in a really clear, low-key, easy accessibility kind of way. And we've already charted it out here. I'm just not sure if this from a couple months ago is still accurate.
I mean, yeah, I mean, the fiscal plan is the most accurate definition, and all this, I mean, obviously, as you guys are well aware, all debt information lives on Gateway, which will give you totals by year if you go out there. Also, that's out there and has that depending on what the repayment source is. You know, you can slice and dice it a lot of different ways there. So on it, it's where.
We'll take a look at,
So, and forgive me, I'm
Yeah.
just pointing,
No, got it.
this
So
was
we'll-
the Community Rec Center.
we'll make sure it's
document.
not been adjusted or changed at all, and we'll add to this, we'll post this to the.
That, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, Elliot, speaking of that, you go to the transparency page,
I'm sorry, so
the transparent page on
Yeah.
the website. They have the charts. You know, I really don't like the way they present that. I don't know if you've seen that lately. It's kind of like, it's not a page, but you have to click a button. and
It's not great.
It's like a, what is it, JavaScript or something like that? Can't we put just normal slides like that? I mean, you know, rather than a Java.
To the open government, is that what you're saying, that site? We have looked at a handful.
I'm just saying, you know, if you go here, it's on the trans, let's see, let's go. It's under the transparency,
And eventually,
first page.
open, correct?
and let's see. And then it says open gov.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
So
right
this is,
there is,
the intent here is to try to do more interactive, so you can kind of
Yeah.
go through and so they
Yeah.
can see what they want to see, but
it's a terrible, for me. I can't-
Yeah.
I
This
can't
is,
make heads or tails of that.
I would say it tends to be best practice, and maybe we're going to give you more opportunities to slice and dice how they want to do things. But loud and clear, I hear you. We'll have these slides on the website. We can take a look at some still frames as well, but for all the still frames you put on, people say, how come I can't, I really want to look at this. And so we'll do both.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that goes.
Well, it's not updated, it's like.
Yeah, and we had some issues with the conversion from
Yeah.
that to Munis, and we've looked at a wide variety of transparency portals that have things, whether it's that's in Munis space, we've kind of worked on building our own, so we've sliced and diced a lot of information a lot of different ways and how to do things and how to put it in a format that's also understandable for people is probably where we hit the most roadblocks or impediments to putting information out there and putting the correct context around a lot of it. So we talk a lot about that. We've had a lot of discussions about it and looked at a lot of different versions of what that looks like.
Yeah, it says updated November 22, but it's 18. So I don't know.
May I ask one last question about debt? Another bit that I think we should review, and that is total debt or maybe just direct debt? Historic, annual historic information about debt total for each year. So the last time, at least I was able to find it, is from 2021. And our direct debt, right, that's the blue section, right, the big, which is most of it, was 315 million, and now we're at over 600.
Well, and 260 of that is the event center.
Right.
So that's the bulk of that change, and then you've got City Hall on there, and then Fire Station 97 in there. So that's the big bulk of the debt change is really the fact that that 625 has almost 260 million in it, but it really should be closer to 170 on there.
So, I mean, obviously we've tackled some amazing big projects, and with that comes this debt consideration, and I just want to be sure, like, we're on top of it. Someone like me can speak to it intelligently. There's just been a lot over a short amount of time, and I just want to be sure that we have that information not only accessible, but I think frankly selfishly for me that I've got my arms wrapped.
Two workable stone, the graph that we'll take a look at, try to walk that back a few years as well. That should answer both.
Exactly.
Right, so, yeah, we'll take a look at that.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So we got there.
All right,
I think.
we want to do a resolution?
Yeah, we do have the capital, but we don't really talk about that if we want to.
Okay.
Go down one slide. Or two slides, Tracy.
This is old slide, we've always shown previously this, $3 million for the fleet loan. These are the assets that we've talked about, each department has come in, all covered quickly though. Tweaks to recall, 21 total vehicles, 18 replacement, 3 are for new additional police officers that are anticipated in the 2024 budget. That's a big chunk of it. Fire, a medic also replacement, ladder truck, I think I mentioned on Monday. That's a third of the cost. We're going to buy it with 3 years. It'll take 3 years to build these things now, which is wild. That will replace by 393. And 2 replacement staff vehicles. So all replacements there. 1 for inspections vehicles beyond useful life, so replacement vehicle there as well. Then over the public works side, $120,000 for the mowers. That's about what we do each year as far as replacements go. Stormwater, street sweeper, mini skid steer, 3 staff trucks, all replacements. And then the tilt deck trailer, so that is to trail the sidewalk tool that we're purchasing, which is also 2 additional employees that we're using. So that's trail that, so that is actually an additional asset, and then a replacement for the back truck. So by and large, all replacements except the trailer and the 3 additional police vehicles, totaling $3 million.
That ladder trap's not going to be proposed, so you're paying 1/3 every year. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, 24, 25, 26, we'll take it, proceed 26.
3-year wait.
Correct. Yeah, so we're still, again, I think Chief Bruce mentioned this, we have 3 frontline ladders and 1 reserve ladder. Fire department's confident in their ability to do the work with that, but by 26, ladder 393, we need to bump down to reserve. That's how we roll through those.
Remind me how long the police vehicles, what's the longevity of it?
So, yeah, that's a good question. We're trying to be between 5 to 7 years for frontline and then kick to a reserve. We've only been to what we call pool vehicles in police for a while. So they drive to fleets get worked on, they can hop out of the vehicle, do their gear over, hop into a pool vehicle. So we're still 100% operational. We've never had a police officer out of vehicle do his or her job. Right now, though, especially with UAW potentially striking the next 48 hours, we are backed up on taking receipt of what, 23 vehicles as well. And that's not a Fisher problem, that's a nationwide problem. So that 5 to 7 year timeline might become 6 to 8, might become 7 to 9. So I had a meeting this morning with the police department. She, myself, and Chief Gephardt will work through that problem until we get that logistically figured out. Yeah. But we typically, that gets them up to like 100, 110, 120,000 miles before they kick over the pool. So they are in great shape, and I think the department takes care of our men and women too. Really well.
I would have to say that a frontline police vehicle, double the mileage, whatever it says it is, in real miles,
Yeah.
100,000, more like 200,000 in it. Long ship.
Same flag, same flag, yeah, all the safety assets that way. Pretty much.
Thank you. We do have a resolution.
I'm sorry, I just have a couple less questions, please. Property tax, thank you for the addition of the new graph. My quick question is, we are anticipating next year, like bringing in an additional like $1 million from property tax revenue. That tells me that our tax rate lowered, but what we're anticipating for AB is to increase. So that won't stay flat. We're anticipating a modest increase in property tax collections for the city. But I mean, by looking at this, I'm saying this out loud just to, please correct me if I'm misinterpreting this and if I'm saying
it's
that
been modest.
all the way through.
Here.
Yes.
Continuing.
And I think that's important to see. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. One last thing for me, and that is through the course of these great conversations, there's been suggestions of other additional things to invest in. And I'm unclear about what the process is about how those have been considered or if they've already been considered and declined by the administration, but there were a few things that have been mentioned. So
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So the budget that was closed in August by the mayor has stayed the same. So that's the proposal we have before the city council. So any recommended changes, I know you sent a few additional nonprofit funds or things of that nature, Geist Waterfront, water quality investment, things of that nature. That's entirely up to the city council. If you so choose to make a motion to amend or change, that's to the 9-member council. So we'll propose the exact same budget again in September. It's up to the 9 members.
okay.
Do you want to do that now, or do you want to bring that
Well,
up? Yeah.
It's totally, I would say, John, that's up to you. The things that rise to the top for me is Brad had a consideration that I fully supported about providing funding for Prevail for the domestic violence housing project. That was one. I mentioned the other day, if there was a way to invest in city funds to bring down the cost of our property owners affected by the Barrett law. I'm not sure if that's wise to really dig into right now, since that's really not pinned down. So I'll maybe table that for another day. And then the last thing was just about nonprofit grant funding, not only $250,000, I think Cissa would say wasn't, did not cover the requests that we received by a long shot, but also my suggestion is, especially listening to the state of the city today, public safety, public health is a top priority. Do we need to think about allocating funds to our health department for nonprofit grants that are in the public health space? Because that is a lot of the nonprofit applications we receive. And it would make sense to me if our public health department kind of managed that and was the expert on that, working with our local nonprofit. That's where
I'll speak to just that real quick. She does have $50,000, which is a nominal number for community grants in her budgets this year. So if it starts to solve that problem, that's just my last piece.
okay. I appreciate that. Just side notes so that you're aware, I think we had 1, 2, 3, 4 applications this past round from the nonprofit grants that were all about food insecurity, which really struck me. And, none of them were funded, you know, they didn't quite make our cut, but I want to flag that, and that was really substantial.
Do people have problems going to the townships and getting food? Because I don't believe when I was on the township, we could go over there and get from the food pantry. And
Well, yeah,
when you talk about food insecurity, you know, there's places to go right now.
oh,
And they have other entities that
Right,
take care of
but-
that. I don't want to, you know, I hate to step on township. That's one of their main functions.
right, right. And what we heard from these nonprofits is the need is greater than that, and also additional options. And, you know, township isn't open on weekends, right? So, that network of services, we don't need to get into all that today. But if, Elliot, you're saying $50,000 has been put into our health department for public health grants, that seems to me that it addresses the need that I think I've learned about very recently. Cecilia, any thoughts there?
Well, I mean, look, anytime there's grant money to be applied for, you know, every organization, whether, you know, they're gonna apply. You know, I think that the trustees' offices, the food banks, the churches, you know, like, there's a lot of opportunity for food. You know, again, you know, we're not a nonprofit funder, you know, we're willing to help our community, but I think we need to like really look at, you know, what is best for our own citizens. It's their money, and you know, like you mentioned for Vail, they haven't even gotten to the point of what's even happening with their building, with anything. So I think it's premature to even.
Yeah, but we
Look at
said
those
that,
things.
last year, and they're definitely stuck.
Well, it's premature, and, you know, if we talk to everybody, it's very premature at this point with, from what I understand with where they are right now.
I
So,
disagree, but I think that's a conversation that we can have on Monday night, John.
Well, yeah, this is, you know, we're gonna have both sides. We can certainly recommend some things, but again, there's discussion. We have a first reading Monday night.
Right.
We can bring up these comments and discuss them and see if there's a will of the council to move forward on them.
Sure, sounds good.
It's good to have these discussions, but at the end of the day, we gotta get 5 votes to do something. So that's gonna be our hurdle to jump on.
Did you guys decide what you want to do with youth assistance and taking that out of the nonprofit budget and putting it in the youth assistance? Since we're under an interlocal for those funds.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we
that-
didn't really just conclude, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, so
You're talking about nonprofit.
this would be the time to work that out, right?
So,
Thank you for bringing that.
so
This would be the time to work on it.
I think basically what we've allocated for the non-for-profits is what is total for everybody. For every organization that we're helping. So it would include youth assistance program, it would include YMI, and it would include Concord. So that's what we got to give.
Well, that's what we can talk about then, and,
Right.
Didn't you guys talk about that? Didn't we have a council meeting? You talked about who you were gonna work with.
That was,
Oh, yeah,
this
yeah.
was for this year, yes. But we're
So now,
talking for-
yeah, so now we're talking planning.
You know,
And we have some organizations that have, as Lindsay said, like, contracts, right? They're kind of contracts for services, not really part of competitive grants.
There's only
review.
one. There's
So-
only the youth assistance program. It's through an interlocal agreement that we made with them. And so we're committed right now through that interlocal to fund them for their manager, case
And I-
manager person.
Can you remember what that was? Wendy?
Well,
Remember?
historically, we've been giving 40, but I believe the commitment was, well, initially we had given 65,000. So,
I think the township gave money when I was on the board, so they collect money from the
correct.
county, townships.
So Elliot, just real quick, what we're talking about here is since that's a contractual agreement, it was an interlocal agreement. And it felt like that should be separated from nonprofit grants to, again, just to keep it clean. We have dollars, whatever amount that is, allocated to competitive nonprofit grants. And then this was a separate, we were talking about breaking that out just to clean it up
Yeah,
and
that's,
lock it in, really.
that doesn't have to be solved today. The amount we're asking to appropriate for all of this, $250,000. So if you decide to say, whatever that $65,000, that'd be less than 250. So if you put that into a line item, if you will, so you guys would have $190,000 or $185,000. So the total amount's still there. We can solve how you guys want to manage it logistically after this. But from a budgetary standpoint, 250 is the recommended amount to the council.
I
But
understand.
yeah, good point.
I understand.
If we want to move it out.
Well, and it's just like to keep it clean and to keep it like, so we remember,
Sure.
right? Like it is documented and clean.
Yeah, I don't see any issue with that.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay, we do have a resolution.
Yeah, so, resolution, you guys have seen these before. It is nothing exciting per the, EDA that was approved by council related to the District South project. That includes, an allocation area being formed. So the resolution before you basically says, yes, you are consenting to create the allocation area for District South. It's been through RDC and Plan Commission and approved there. So it's just really a statutory step.
Motion to approve.
A motion by David, have a second. Second by Cecilia, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We'll recommend for approval Monday night. Moving on to 091823. Do I have a recognition to have first reading?
Yeah, I just want to say, I think this is a really good budget, and I appreciate you guys putting it together.
Yeah, thank you.
And,
Thank you.
Do I need to make a motion to?
Just right first, we'll just recommend that first
Okay.
reading. Recommended. We don't vote, we just recommend.
Okay.
All right, any other unfinished or new business? If not, motion to adjourn, please.
Thanks, everybody.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Still daggone